Welcome to the Chillness Room, episode 22. So, I think, I think it's episode 22. It's been a little while. Let me check. Welcome to the Chillness Room, episode 23. All right, here we go. So, RSD is a rejection sensitivity dysphoria. So, I don't know if you've been like me, but you felt like you've had to rush through your thoughts whenever you're speaking and like really punctuate it or really make sure that it's clear or whatever. And it's actually a feeling of anxiety that can come up where it's like, I've never been allowed to talk this long, or I'm talking and I'm going around in circles and people are going to leave and they're not going to think that I'm saying anything worthwhile. This could be one way RSD shows up. And it's pretty, I think, common, especially for people who've experienced a time in their life where they weren't allowed to speak their truth. That perhaps they would start to speak, and then whoever in their life that seemingly had better ideas, more important ideas, or were just the loudest in the room, shut that down. I started to notice that I had this particular issue when people actually started to sit with me without commenting or having an opinion about my share or whatever it was that I was saying. They didn't degrade me, dismiss me. They weren't analyzing me, right? Because I'd sat in front of a psychologist before and, I'm going to say spill my guts, right? Because there was nothing really happening. They were just intent on giving me some kind of medication anyway. And they were in the analyzing phase. That's very different than sitting with somebody who just lets you complete your full sentences. Because when they do that, something really unique happens as far as kind of what happens in our minds, in our brains. We suddenly begin to feel like what we say matters. It could be that. But I think it's also something where I finally finished my sentence from when I was 7 years old that no one would listen to. I mean, if you were like me, I was a little bit more hyperactive. I was a little bit more like, I want to play, I want to run, I want to do things, right? And I was simultaneously getting squashed while simultaneously getting uplifted in other ways. And it was really hard to feel seen and heard because sometimes kids, they just have a lot in them. Have you noticed how interesting it is? How interesting it is, right? If you have a kiddo, whether they are kind of technically more introverted or whether they are technically more extroverted, they're learning something brand new every single day, every day. And they want to talk about it. And that's the way that they learn more deeply about their opinions, their insights, their understandings, who they are, where they fit, and what they need, and all of those things. I mean, babies cry to get you to help them or to express themselves because they don't know another way, or laugh, or you know you know make all of their little sweet noises to interact with the world. And I just love that. And so many times an exhausted parent, understandably, will be like, you said that already 15 times. I'm exhausted from you saying the same thing 15 times. So in one way, I do understand how this kind of thing can happen. And when we were growing up, you and me, I'm just assuming, I've seen my stats. When we were growing up, the motto was be seen and not heard. Kids are to be seen and not heard. They're to be quietly being where they are and not disturbing the adults, right? And so now, as we're adults and our kids just love to disturb, we're like, fine, I don't care, disturb away, you know, for the most part. And I think that's a good thing. Our parents wouldn't understand that more than likely. So, the point I'm getting at is that if we never had the opportunity to interact with the world in a way that was helping us to discover it through our voice, through our experience, through our interaction, and give feedback about what we think about that and how we feel about that and why that's something we don't like and why that's something we do like. If we never get those opportunities, then the natural result of it could be RSD. Now, I am not an expert in this. This is a lot of perspectives. This is a lot of kind of questioning and just getting clear about my opinion about it. It's not rote knowledge. I can find that out, but I prefer just to have my, perspective hat on and just be like, let me play with this idea. If I get a new information, I'll let you know. But it is kind of a chemical thing. So a lot of times women in their midlife are going to feel this more strongly than they may have felt it their whole other life, because all of our chemicals in our bodies are just getting either stripped away, or there's too much happening at different times. And so we have a new understanding, because a lot of those guardrails that were normally kept in place to keep us from feeling these things, and the things that were keeping us from expressing and needing to express and feeling all these big feelings, all those guardrails disappear. And it seems like they happen like all at once, which is incredibly disorienting. And I will say, it doesn't really happen all at once. I think generally it's a gradual decline, but when it starts, it really is very potent. So, this one piece of it, which is also connected to ADHD. So, if you have ADHD, you're not a woman, you're not in midlife, and you're feeling this rejection sensitivity dysphoria, you're really keenly hooked in to what others perceive about you. You can naturally feel like you've done something wrong when nothing has happened at all. You're just sitting in a room, looking around, and wondering why you're being judged, when that may not be the case. But where it gets worse is you're wondering why you're being judged, and yes, you should be. Yeah, clearly they should be judging me because I am less than. I am not good enough. Yes, I did go on in that conversation too long, or I said the wrong thing, or I shouldn't have said that because I noticed the look on their face, and that must mean that I did something wrong. Because we are these amazing meaning makers that determine that this thing that I did means that I'm wrong or bad or what have you. And it truly isn't the case. It truly isn't the case. But it's hard to believe that. It really is. It's like, well, Kyra, you don't know me. You don't know what I did. You don't know what I said the other day. That was really dumb. I don't. I can just assume it probably wasn't that bad. If you're not harming another person physically or mentally or emotionally with the intention of harm, and you just kind of said something that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Every single human being on this planet does it. But a lot of people just don't even pay attention to it at all. They just are like, oh, what do you mean? I said something dumb. And they're completely oblivious and they don't care. And I wish I had an ounce of that. That would be amazing. But I will say this keeps us and holds us back from things. It can keep us and hold us back from expressing our truth, sharing our wisdom, getting out into the world, trusting ourselves, trusting our insights and ideas, um, sharing something when somebody is clearly going off the rails and you're like, I want to say something but I really shouldn't, because I could be wrong, and then you go through that whole spiel as well, like, oh. So this is something that I want you to first just have awareness of, that if you've experienced any level of this, and I think probably more introverted people will experience this, because we are so introspective that we'll eat ourselves alive. And we will, go inside to determine, did I say that? Was that dumb? And if it goes through the filter of, I'm already dumb, when you're not, if it, just thinking this deeply means that you're not dumb. You didn't do anything wrong. Is that we pass through the filter of our own self-doubt if we go through it internally, and we have a set point at that place of, I need to be quiet. Why wasn't I quiet? I should not have said that because I'm supposed to be quiet. I'm supposed to be seen and not heard. So as you are kind of contemplating your own space here with this idea, I recommend looking it up, RSD, or Rejection Sensitivity Dysphoria. It's a dysphoria because it's not real, like body dysphoria. You look in the mirror, you see something, but that's not actually what it is, and and this is also saying the same thing. People are not automatically rejecting you or your thoughts or ideas. You have an awareness of it being a possibility, and dependent upon how difficult your childhood was when it came to being allowed to express yourself. I think it's a childhood thing. Like I said, this is my opinion. This is my insight. I could be wrong. Please look it up. Please double check me. But if I were taking a very feeling based, educated guess, I would say it's probably some seeds back there that told you not to express. It wasn't safe to do it. So another way that it can show up is trying to talk too fast, and then you lose your thoughts or you can lose your place. And I've been really conscious of this lately because I was talking to a friend of mine and I realized that I was losing my train of thought while I was in the middle of losing my train of thought. And instead of stopping myself and saying, I'm losing my train of thought, and then that causes me to stop talking, instead of doing that, what I chose to do is keep muddling through it. It was incredibly painful. My friend didn't even notice, but it was very painful to just keep muddling through my thought instead of cutting myself off and saying, I don't know what I'm saying, you know? So that for me was a very good practice, to be in the presence of somebody who cares and loves me, who isn't going to cut me off and say, you lost your train of thought. She just sat there with me as I walked through it and walked through my train of thought. And I think having friends and companions and people in our life who are like that, who are so just just calm, who are going to sit with us through that process, or may already know that's who we are, which I like explaining that sometimes to people. Like, I might lose my train of thought. Please let me just finish what I'm saying, because otherwise it's off with the fairies. Like, I can't, I'm never, it's gone with the fairies. Wait, I'm not going to be able to find my thought again, but it's even deeper than that. It means that you respect me enough to let me finish, and you love me enough to do it compassionately. And I got to tell you, I've listened to the stories of thousands of people. I've published hundreds of stories, hundreds and hundreds of stories. And I'm telling you, and the thousands of people was in my clinic, and the hundreds of stories in my publishing company, not the same thing. And I'm overwhelmed by when people finally feel like they have a space to express themselves, how incredibly wise and intelligent and balanced and clear everything is. Sometimes people need a space, and sometimes people need space. They need time. They need breath to just be with what they're saying, who they are, and why it all matters to them. And I love giving those spaces, because I didn't feel like I had those spaces all the time. I was grateful I had a grandmother who just let me say whatever was in my head for as long as I wanted to talk about it. And it didn't make sense. It was nonsense. She didn't care. She just let me be me. And if we have one person in our life that will just listen to us dump out everything going on, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's somebody that you pay that isn't analyzing you, but is like a coach or something like that, that is not cutting you off, and you have particularly this RSD, then I think that it can be incredibly healing, because there's a lot of nuance to this, but there's some core fundamental things about it. And many of them I mentioned already. And it's because I have the profile of someone with RSD. It's not like I'm talking to you from a textbook, clearly, because if I were, I'd know a lot more. But for right now, I'm just where I am. So, if you haven't gotten that person or friend to just not interrupt you, I would recommend doing something like this. Either you could record yourself and you can listen to yourself back, and might be surprised at how wise you are and intelligent and aware and creative, and how much you really understand things. And then there will also be times where you'll be like, oh, that's garbage. Like, and then you love and accept yourself right there. And that's absolutely perfect. Or you can walk around your house and just talk to yourself, talk to the pet that you have in your house, and just let yourself speak it out. Get it all the way out. Don't hold back. Let it come through, right? You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to just speak it out. And what I think will happen if you practice this is that you are going to get connected with a couple of understandings. One would be, I'm not as dumb as I think I am. The other one will be, you will complete a thought. Instead of letting it roll around in your brain nonstop in a loop, you will complete it. It'll find its home. It'll find its resting place. It could also be made more. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, I am now a fountain of gibberish. And I think about that. There's Waiting for Godot, um the Samuel Beckett thing. Um, I had done a research project on it at one point, but there's a character called Lucky who was suppressed, really dangerously suppressed. And all of a sudden, he had an opportunity to speak. And he just let out this entire diatribe and all the things that he'd been holding in, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And he was able to just release it. Right. And I think that I've always resonated with that. There's a whole bunch of other stuff happening in that whole thing, but we're just going to look from this point of view. I remembered thinking how incredibly freeing it is that he finally got to get it all out. Not feeling that safety for myself. So if you're experiencing any of this, cool. Gave you a couple ideas, gave you some thoughts about where it could have come from. This doesn't necessarily have to be completely you, but I see in this, you can even pretend, you can be like, I'm gonna just pretend I'm talking to Kyra right now, and I'm just gonna let it all out of my head and release it. Let it go. Let it go. It's all right. You can let it out. Um, I I would recommend maybe by yourself so that you're not feeling like there's somebody else in the room that can hear what I'm saying. It can feel much more freeing to say every single thing you've got going on in your head. Maybe you're cussing, maybe you're yelling, maybe you're crying, maybe you're laughing hysterically like a complete nutcase. Maybe you are, I don't know, all of the things. And then just let yourself be that for a moment. So free your voice, free it. You got nothing to lose but the heaviness in your body, in your mind. And then when it comes to other people, recognizing those people that will sit and just be present with you. And then recognizing the people that won't. And know where you want to put your energy the most. Thank you for joining me on the Chillness Room. This was episode 23. Goodness gracious. And I'll be back. Might do a few more this week. So take care. Have a great day.